Here's why Instagram polls matter. These give you a chance to interact with your customers, find out what they care about, and learn a lot more about the content you could be producing for them. They released this in ads last year, so you can actually pay to get answers to these questions now and find new ways to engage your audience. We're gonna talk about how to do that because they're a little bit tricky, so stick with me and I'll show you how it's done. In order to set up interactive polls in your Instagram story ads, there's a couple settings you need to know about. So let's hop into Ads Manager and I'm gonna show you how to set it up right. When you go into the placements of your ad set, you're gonna see there's the section for feeds, stories, in-stream. The only thing that should be checked off is under the stories area, the Instagram stories box. If you check anything else, the poll option will automatically disappear as an option from your creative. So in this example, I have two different ad creatives. You're gonna see why I did two, but first let's just talk about how you set up a poll to begin with. So in your creative, you're gonna scroll down past where you see things like website URL, call to action, and there's a section that was recently added called Stories Customizations. It's in light gray text, so you're gonna have to look out for it, but when you check off add an interactive poll, boom, you're gonna have an option. In this example, we're gonna pretend that the social media marketing world staff wants to poll their audience about what video content they should make next. In this, you'll see there is first the poll question. This has a 90 character limit, which is actually pretty long. The one thing to know about this is it doesn't do the best job of placing it correctly on your image. So you wanna make sure whatever you put in there, you are viewing in this little preview pane over here to the right, because that's gonna show you how it actually renders. Something else you are going to notice as you look at this, the text for the question is white and it's in Times New Roman, which kind of makes me feel like I'm in a Microsoft Word doc. However, this is the default font. Take note of the fact that this is white. So in this example, we have it against a black background, so it works well, you can read it. But if you do it on a white background, doesn't work so well. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So in this example, you can see where the poll question would normally be. It shows up white. People have 15 seconds to look at your story. So if you have a complicated picture and a logo and people's brains are literally trying to assemble what the messaging is, and then your poll question is on white, probably not gonna do a really great job of helping people understand, let alone be able to see what it is you're asking. So it's very important if you're going to run an Instagram stories ad that you think through what that background is gonna be, because you can change the image that you have in the background, but you cannot change the way that it's gonna render the text. That brings up another point. Should you run video or should you run image? When it comes to polls, I usually recommend that brands stick with still images, and here is why. The first part is people are already trying to figure out what's going on in the story that they're looking at. So if there's a video running and there's a poll question and there's only 15 seconds for them to figure out what's going on, they're probably only gonna figure out maybe one of those things before they're on to the next story. You want them to focus on the poll. Video can really distract from that. Let's go back to our better looking ad and I'll show you how to continue formatting it. So if you look here, you'll see you have your poll question and then you can pick two options. So there's answer number 1 and there's answer number 2. That's pretty much all you've got. Where it gets tricky is things like the sticker width or the rotation or the positioning of horizontal versus vertical. I would love to live in a world where I could just click on the picture and say that's where I want the poll to be. Doesn't work that way. And it starts to get weird if you mess with these settings too much because it'll just refuse to render and say that you're outside of the showable area. Usually what I recommend is keep it simple for yourself when you're starting. You're probably gonna wanna assume that your position's gonna be somewhere 50% in the horizontal, 50 to 60% in the vertical. The other thing to be aware of is you can rotate the sticker too. If you don't want it to show up just as a straight line, you could say, hey, I want to tilt this maybe 25% and it'll re-render. It's nice because it's eye-catching, it's something different. The one thing to just be aware of is if you start messing with the rotations too much, you start getting errors, it gets really frustrating. So you may just want to mess with one at a time until you get your bearings with how to use it. Once you have this, you can create your poll, you create your 2 answers. It will record all of the answers. I'm going to show you how to find those stats next. You have to go to the creative pane where we already were. And underneath the creative you want to look at, you're going to see that there is this option called View Charts. If you click on it and you go in, scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see a preview of the ad that ran, and then you're also gonna see the interactivity results, as they call it. This is where you will see the responses to your poll. So what it does is it shows you the total reach, so what were the total number of people that were reached with the poll, how many responses did you get out of that, and then which way did they respond. And they break it down into the actual number of responses and then the percentage of the total that was. Beyond just creating engagement with your ad, your content, your brand, you can also ask some pretty big questions of the people you're serving the ad to. All of these things are things that not only invite people to be part of your brand story and its growth, but it gives you really valuable insight. You have the ability to create custom audiences based on the fact that they interacted with your posts or ads. Everyone that interacts with your story falls into that audience. So instead of just being a person that answered a poll, they are now part of a remarketing audience based on the fact they engaged with you. So they obviously are interested in your brand. So to create that audience, you go into the audiences section, and then you're gonna wanna click create audience, and you choose custom audience. You're gonna get this menu that gives you a whole bunch of different options, but what you're going to wanna pick from it is Instagram business profile, and then you can narrow it down a little bit. So it can be people that engaged with post or ad. That's what you're gonna want. There are other options. It can't hurt to create custom audiences for those, but for the purposes of the polls, this is the one that's gonna matter to you. So if you say anybody who engaged with any post or ad, and then you can specify the number of days. You may wanna create different segments of time over how recently they engaged with you, because that audience may change over time. So it's just something to think through when you look back on how you're using these and when you plan ahead. But this is where you can create that audience. You can name them. And then at this point, anytime someone interacts with your ad in any way, whether it's a poll or not, they're gonna get added to this audience. But they have self-selected as someone that's willing to interact with your brand. So that right there is a huge opportunity to run things like engagement ads, get more people involved in your brand, and then have them as a remarketing audience going forward. So what I just described to you is actually part of a larger strategy that you can use when you're on Facebook and Instagram. Check out the video you see here on the screen to learn more about how to build marketing funnels using Instagram ads.